I think isn't a good matchup for what Complexity like to do just in the past, and I think that LGD have been showing a little bit of weirdness in their drafts as well, which I'm not really a huge fan of. I mean, yesterday we saw some drafts and it was kind of just like, what are they doing with their hero picks? And then they kind of just lost the game. I think largely attributed to that. So that's my opinion. But
Okay, and we can still go into the draft because it is on its way. So hopefully we'll jump in there very soon. Synerin, what are your thoughts on this best of one, and on specifically the fact that it is a best of one with these two teams?
I'm with Andy. I think Complexity showed better form in their win, all in all. I guess LGD, who was it LGD lost to?
LGD lost against MVP Phoenix?
MVP Phoenix. Okay, so that's a hard match, so maybe we can't draw too much from that, but I think Complexity is a team that rides on momentum, and they did well yesterday. So I have high hopes for them, but I do think it could be a pretty close game.
Well, Earth Spirit will be the first pick up there for LGD-Gaming, so looks like Complexity has something prepared. What we saw yesterday from Complexity, and what I think is their biggest strength, is that they set out a game plan and they execute it. Sometimes the game plan doesn't work, fair enough, but they have a game plan and they execute it. And they can plan what they go up against in most teams if you know what they're going to pick. When you leave certain heroes in the pool, you know that they're going to pick them up. So it seems like they might have something, or I think they would be one of the teams that have something special prepared for LGD and would bait them into picking certain heroes like an Earth Spirit in this case.
They're just gonna pick Enigma, man. That's just what Complexity do. If any time they can get their hands on Z-Freak Enigma, they just do it. If it's not too greedy.
Well, they can. Can they do it? As in, too greedy?
Against Earth Spirit, it's kind of rough. Because you have such a long range disable, you can not have to worry about Black Hole so much. But Earth Spirit's also not like... He's not amazing against early 5-man, but he's still pretty good. And his roaming is obviously going to be a huge problem if you pick too greedy.
What do you think of this first few picks and bans, Winter?
Well, I think like if you go Enigma against Earth Spirit, the primary concern is your mid lane, because Earth Spirit is just going to camp him and you have Enigma, so it's more or less certain that you can't really help your mid laner. That's something that you would consider heavily when you're up against Earth Spirit. So until you can be sure that your mid matchup is a matchup that you don't feel can get pressured by the Earth Spirit, then probably you would consider the Enigma pick then. But until that happens, it's kind of still better, I think, to keep it open.
10 seconds remaining.
I was wondering if they would go for this this tiny pick actually, because they've had so much success with playing this on Limp. It was out of control yesterday. I do believe that was with an IO, but or was it even?
No,
they
was
they didn't even have.
No, it was with Lich. It was Lich tiny.
Which LGD are now going to ban, but I think Complexity seem they're very confident with the hero. Against Earth Spirit, it's a little bit of a double-edged sword, as it is with Earth Spirit as with most heroes. If you catch him off guard, you can actually almost one-shot him. At the same time, Earth Spirit very good at like kiting Tiny and just being overall annoying. I wonder if Complexity, now that Lich is banned, will even put that Tiny mid, or if they're going to swap their lanes around and put Lone Druid mid. He's way less susceptible to Earth Spirit ganks in a way, just because the bear can always Savage Roar while he gets engaged on by the Earth Spirit.
Okay, Lich already got removed. We saw Complexity indeed having the Lich as combination hero with the Tiny. As Io then was picked up by the Spirit, which they had led through to counter in the game against Team Spirit. And they ended up winning here too. Which combination would you like to see with Tiny now that both Io and Lich already got removed? Is there any sort of specific combination you would go for, or do you just use it as any typical carry and just go for its own strengths?
I mean, his strength is just getting that early blink, right? I think that obviously they had the Wiz and the Lich previously, just to make sure that you get to that point faster. But you can still do it without those heroes, and depending on your lane matchup, you might still get it at a really good time. Or you can do what Synerin mentioned, just put Lone Druid mid, and you can put the Tiny safe lane to get a much more secured farm for the early blink. That's also another option that they have. Because since Lone Druid can basically lane anywhere, it doesn't really matter for him.
I think Venge is amazing this game for Complexity.
I was thinking kind of Disruptor too.
Yeah, Disruptor is also good. The reason I'm thinking Venge is that you have swap against Witch Doctor, Death Ward. That's kind of nice. And your percentage-based aura is actually really good for both Tiny and Lone Druid, especially the Tiny who hits really hard. It gives them roast potential on Dire. since these classic lane supports with Tiny are ruled out, I'm leaning more toward the mid lane lone druid, and then you just there's a lot of supports you can obviously run if you're running it with Tiny in the safe lane. So there's a lot of good things to be said about Avenge here. Disruptor is great too, though, against Earth Spirit. It's a better counter pick to that hero in particular.
Well, they're going into their bonus time to think about this next pick. How are we looking in terms of team fight potential for both teams? What do we expect? How heavy are they going to go in on that?
Well, it's kind of hard to say for Complexity. I mean, their team could still fight. We haven't seen a single support pick yet. Or, I mean, potentially Lone Druid could be offlane in this game, I suppose. So that's always something to keep in mind too. But LGD already have Earth Spirit, who is great in team fights. Witch Doctor, if he gets a good ward off, can be the same. Just depends on how heavily Complexity want to go for the actual 5-man. They seem to favor it from what I've seen. They don't like to pick a team composition that can't 5-man. That's why we see so much Tide. We see so much Enigma out of them. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them go for something like that.
Yeah, and they're on the dire side as well. So like what Scenario mentioned, picking the Venge would be nice for the Roshan factor. And pretty decent at team fighting. And overall, I think Complexity strength is when they play as a team, you know, when they play around each other. That's when their strength shines truly. They're gonna have the Tusk. This is mostly for Handskin. I think I remember Swindles play the hero as well, but very rare.
Yeah.
It's not really that great anymore nowadays on the offlane. It's more likely we see him as a support. It's a good stuns to actually cancel the Witch Doctor, like you guys mentioned, the Wench with the swap. It's quite similar with Tusk. You have Snowball and the Punch.
LGD is sometimes called the masters of base defense.
They were called that a couple of years ago.
Yeah, but they still are in this patch, or at least they're very good at it. Maybe no longer masters, maybe they went the rank down, but they're still very good at it. How do you deal with going high ground if you're Complexity? Is the Lone Druid enough, sending the bear up high ground, having 2 bears potentially? Tiny, of course, can pressure very hard, but you do need to go up high ground. You can snowball in if you want.
They could boost it with something like a Legion Commander, which just got a lot more appealing as a pick. Could be an offlane pick for Swindles, and you probably just accept that if the LGD lane is strong, you just jungle with Iron Talon, or they played on Z-Freak jungle as they have done before. Alternatively, Enigma still looks pretty good to me, honestly. It's not so much about the black hole in this game, it's just the push power, take towers, you get fast mech, you take Roche. I'm not sure why they would stray away from that. Now that they have a Tusk, they have a support that can help mid if Earth Spirit comes in. It's a very good counter-initiate for the mid lane.
What I would give to have a look at the book that Swindle has in front of him.
It's the mystery book.
It is the mystery book.
The draft book, as he says.
What will the draft book say Complexity will pick?
I mean, I think
Enigma here?
I think overall Complexity looks much better when they always have a jungling hero. But with the Tusk, it seems like if they run a jungling hero, then they would have to lane Tiny in mid. Otherwise, Tiny safe lane with Tusk, because Tusk is probably going to be roaming. Like, how would you lane them if you actually pick the Enigma? Yeah, the Chen comes out.
This is good too.
Because I think it's always better for them that if they have a jungling hero, like I mentioned.
I actually picked it into Witch Doctor and Bat Rider. 2 heroes.
But it's like the purpose of the pick, right?
Yeah.
Mostly they want a 5-man and they want to push.
But wouldn't you just say Enigma was better then?
But you get pressured by the Earth Spirit more, I think, if you go for Enigma. Chen is like, you can still somewhat help the lane. In the first few minutes, you send a creep over. But Enigma is like, you're on your own, dude. I'm just gonna farm until I'm level 6. I'm not gonna come out. At least if it's your Chen, you can actually send creeps and maybe smoke gank with the Tusk. You can do something. At least you can have the lanes.
LGD said they already had a bit of a counter towards the Chen, perhaps with that Bat Rider and the Witch Doctor there. Anything else they can look to get to maybe match the greediness of the Chen pick?
A lot of teams have been picking Doom against Ench and Chen, but I don't think it's doable here.
I think they might actually just pick dual core, like what they usually do. The way they greed is different from other teams. So other teams greed by getting a jungler or getting a greedy support. But for LGD, when they greed with picking 2 position 1 heroes on their team, on Maybe and Syla.
Is Morph not an option here for Syla?
Morph's timing is so awkward against Complexity's lineup.
But it's pretty good versus their heroes. They don't have much burst apart from Tiny.
If you can hold on, it's good.
They don't have good lockdown for Morphling.
I just get that feeling that Complexity can control Roshan, and Morphling's not that hero who can just make the impact in the team fights early enough to stop Complexity right now.
Which hero would you think is good enough to do that? A gyrocopter comes to mind, perhaps?
Gyro's good.
Gyro, yeah,
Yeah,
Gyro's
Gyro's
pretty
good versus Chen. That's true.
Pretty good. It's not amazing, actually, when you look at it, but it's good for fighting against Tusk. If you do an aggressive snowball, it's very telegraphed and it's easy to call down. Great against Chen for obvious reasons, and then it's awkward against Lone Druid, I guess. That's a pretty bad matchup for Gyrocopter in the mid game. The bear just runs in and...
I mean, this is a
Gives
better
them for
matchup,
tangles.
right? For the Lone Druid, the Razor.
Yes. You can still drain the bear.
Yeah.
That was never changed.
10 seconds.
And the good thing about this pick for LGD is regardless of what complexity put mid, whether it's lone or tiny, he should be fine. So they safeguard that lane first and foremost. The downside, I guess, Razor perhaps not the best hero at benefiting from Earth Spirit rotations early. In the very first few levels, you generally like a hero that has an additional slow or stun, so you can finish off the kill. But they don't necessarily need to kill, just pressuring is good enough.
How do you feel that Razor changes the timing which LGD needs to hit?
I mean, it gives them a much better way of de-pushing defending, because before this, Earth Spirit, Witch Doctor, Bat, only Bat has somewhat de-push with Firefly, so it gives them more option to buy time against the Chen. So I think it would help them in terms of defending, so in case they want to go for a last pick where it needs more time to come online like a Morphling, it helps the Morphling, you know, because you can buy time for him to farm.
I wouldn't be surprised if LGD just go Morphling again.
Because they are very stubborn.
Yeah, they did it the other day.
Let's pick it every single time.
Even if it doesn't fit the situation, they just still go for it. Maybe it won't be the Morphling, but I would still expect it to be a hero that needs a lot of farm. Like their dual core setup is very, very common in their drafts.
Yeah.
For complexity, okay, that's the Swindle's hero, so they're gonna have a very typical Chen draft. You wanna push, and you have a big AoE team fighter that protects your team when you're actually sieging the towers, which is the Tide this game. Type doesn't really to go for the mech, so it's nice you can go for maybe a mech. Maybe a blink early.
How are they gonna lane this? Is there a chance they're gonna put Tidehunter safe lane and Lone Root off lane and just try to get that blink dagger on the Tide up as fast as possible?
I know that Swindles doesn't play the Lone Druid, and sometimes when they draft Lone Druid, they put him on Slada or Blue safe lane. But this game, I think it's probably higher chance that they put the Lone Druid off lane and Chessie will play it. The Tide off lane and Chessie will play the Lone Druid safe lane. And because their supports are Chen and Tusk, so you ideally want a safe laner that doesn't really take too much of your support's time to actually help them zone. And Lone Druid will be perfect for that.
Okay, Sin, lay it down. What's gonna happen?
I'm just curious whether maybe goes safe lane against that Tide, or they put the PL there. Because PL can also be played mid, so they're flexible with their lanes, and Sala has played mid quite a bit.
So they'll put Razor versus Tide and PL mid.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best. I guess we'll see. I think Complexity have a very clear game plan, and their lineup peaks, and LGD have to stall. So if Complexity deliver, they're going to win the game, and they look pumped up, so Complexity's going to take it.
Complexity is gonna take it, says Cinder in Drasco. What say you?
I agree. Again, I just like lineups that have such a strong timing like this, and this is Complexity's comfort zone to a T.
Winter, you want to be the odd one out?
No, I think it's just really easy for them. Like I always go for the drop that I feel that it's easier to execute. You have much more room for error. I always favor those factors. I think complexity, like they mentioned, very simple, very straightforward. You know what you have to do. For LGD, you need to hold for a long time. So I favor complexity.
Well, I'm gonna call it. LGD is gonna take this one. Come on, guys. We're gonna have a Chinese team making it to the best of threes here in the lower bracket round 3, which is what these teams are fighting for. Their tournament lives is on the line. LGD taking on Team Complexity with Capitalist and Blitz.
Thank you, Shiver, passing it over right in time for the pause, but that just leaves a lot of time for Blitz and I to talk about this matchup because it is a best of one. I know both you and I were leaning a little bit more towards Complexity. We heard our analysts were pretty evened out as well, but now that you see the draft, what do you think, Blitz?
I think that Complexity's lineup is a lot easier to handle, and I don't think that LGD was greedy enough in their lanes, for example. Like, they needed something that could one-on-one dominate against the Tide. I've been telling you, time and time again, you can't just pick the Tide unless you can get a good lane out of it, or there's like a plan behind it. You can't just go to the jungle with that type of hero. Like, you have to abuse. And so, LGD, they didn't really do that. Like, they've got an exploitable matchup for them. You just find against the PL when the supports decide to move around the map. And most importantly, like LGD pick Razor again. I don't think this is a maybe hero or a hero that he really wants to play. You saw the Chinese crowd; they reacted incredibly negatively.
Yeah, they're
to the
not
Razor
big
pick.
fans of the Razor, apparently.
Yeah.
I'm
You
not
can
sure
tell,
what
like,
that was.
they're all just like super behind LGD, and they're just like, no, guys, come
They're
on,
like,
we know better than
"Ooh,
this.
no."
It's weird because when we're at TI, like they don't nobody questions PVD. It's
Yeah.
like everybody, that's like home turf for them. But here, everyone's just like, ooh, that Razor pick, I don't know.
All right, well, we're finally getting our pause finished up now, so we can head into the matchup between Complexity and LGD. Again, another best-of-1 elimination match. As LGD definitely have this big dynasty behind them, want to be able to prove that they can move forward at least a bit farther in this tournament, while Complexity, a newer team, obviously they did quite well at TI, but a different roster here with some of the Swedes coming over.
Yeah,
And they want to be able to prove that this roster can actually stand up in the international scene and not just in the North American.
Last time at TI, I believe they got top 12, right? At that one?
Yes, they started an upper
This
bracket
is where they
and
got
lost both
eliminated.
games. Yes.
And they'd like to at least one up that a little bit, especially since they lost two of their players who ended up having enormous success in
Yes.
Fly and Moon Meander, who went on to win a major shortly after. But Complexity still have a lot to prove. LGD have even more to prove. Like, you can feel the weight of the crowd on their shoulders. When I first got here, I thought that the Chinese teams would have a pretty significant advantage, just because they have the crowd behind them, no jet lag or anything like that. But seeing how the crowd reacts and seeing how passionate these fans get, in a lot of ways I feel like this is just a lot of pressure that's being put on them right now. And so far teams are just dropping off left and right. It's just them and Newbie left over.
All right, so we're starting off determining our laning phase. Some early wards being placed out on both sides. We did have an aggressive ward laid out by Complexity, blocking out the pull camp, while LGD actually holding on to their vision for the time being. Looks like a bear gonna challenge that bottom lane, try and snag that bounty rune. Not gonna be picked up though. Phantom Lancer will grab that one, and our Razor is going to be in the bottom lane. So that is a lane that can definitely deal with the Spirit Bear a bit better than the Phantom Lancer. Phantom Lancer matched up then against Limp in the mid lane.
I really like the way that LGD have laned this overall. Like, they're in a position to win potentially 3 lanes out of this, depending on how the Witch Doctor plays this. And that's a pretty good...
How do you think Witch Doctor should be playing this? Do you think he's actually required in this top lane, the 1v1 matchup with Batrider and Tide?
I think he absolutely secures that ROTK, gets a good start.
Oh, the toss back nice and early. Sylar is going to have to use the early level of Doppelganger, but he's already stuck inside the tower. He takes a couple more pot shots there before he's able to get out, but that will burn through a lot of regen.
If Hanskin was just a little bit more precise with the eye shards too, that could have just been our first blood.
Yeah, I think he assumed that one of the illusions that were farther out was the real one.
Yeah. I really like this, by the way, Cap. We mentioned that ROTK kind of felt like the weak spot for LGD in his play so far, but they give him an advantageous matchup, and more importantly than that, they're giving him help. Like, they want to absolutely secure that this guy has a good game. We saw earlier in the games where he played, he just kind of left the lane almost immediately and had no impact. This time around, I feel like they're setting him up for success.
Oh, bottom lane, they actually start going on to Chessie.
Oh, this body block by MMY.
MMY can't quite stay ahead of him. He's going to be able to get into the trees and escape. So no first blood. Just the counter lane. Chessie goes down in the mid lane. He ends up dying. MMY may still end up going down to the bottom lane. The block's out from Chessie, bringing him low. Hanskin's trying to catch up. Will be able to get one more right click before the roll away. Now Chessie and Z-Freak combine forces, but maybe it's already been pushed out. Complexity's aggressive situation in that bottom lane doesn't help out Limp, who's easily taken out for first blood.
I do like that this Z-Freak Ken is playing aggressively in this jungle right now because he wants to try to help out Chessie, because he knows that he's the true 1 position, although they left the Tide in the safe lane. They want to make sure that he has an okay game, really relying on the Radiance timing of the bear, but Limp dying here early on and getting no CS is definitely not doing them any favors.
Z-Freak may need to switch out creeps here. This Hellbear Smasher is pretty low. He's going to be able to find a Centaur that may be an adequate creep to gank mid, but then again, it's still a Sylar or Phantom Lancer. You can just doppelganger away most of the time, so kind of tough. The Avalanche does miss there. Limp just getting a CS out of it.
And one of the strengths of putting the Phantom Lancer mid is he's just so annoying to play against. It's difficult to gank him, especially without like the hard lockdown silence, which is even more useful than the stun in some cases.
Can they actually get this one? It looks like they're gonna go for the snowball, pick up the centaur and roll, but I don't think the snowball duration stun lasts long enough for the centaur stun to go out before doppelganger.
Yeah, I kind of want to. It just sort of feels like a low percentage gank to me, unless he runs out of mana. But
or maybe they combo it up with an avalanche. Let's see, they're going to leave with the avalanche toss, already bring Siler low. They're actually going to hold on to it. Ice Shard's ready to go. They get the snowball, bring the centaur close enough to be able to hit that stun. Siler will end up going down. A well-executed gank by Complexity.
Yeah, and Limp actually got the full combo off, making it incredibly easy for them to pick that one up, because Siler doesn't know that the back flank is coming. Allows himself to get comboed.
Swindle's trying to interrupt a lot of this CS at the top lane, and does manage to get some of the bigger creeps, so that's actually pretty favorable for him.
Yeah, still, RTK in a really good position as he's easily racking up the last hits. And this bottom lane has not been favorable to Chessie whatsoever. Complexity, that mid gank was really necessary for them right now.
Yeah, top 3 CS on the board is all to LGD's favor. A roll in from MMY, misses out on Chessie, but we do have a 2-man smoke from Complexity in the top lane, as they're going to try and catch out ROTK, who's been playing this really aggressively against Swindles. ROTK is going to be hit by this snowball. They already have the anchor smash on top of him. Swindles is burning, though, underneath this fire. They will be able to slow down ROTK. This Seder Banisher is going to work. ROTK can go nowhere and will end up dying. Complexity very low as they retreat out, but still, they got the successful gank on the Bat Rider, slowing down that Blink Dagger.
Perfect creep for that kill as well, Cap. I don't know if they could have done it with anything else.
Maybe a help air smasher, but I think that's pretty much it.
No, they needed more than just that one initial. Like, he had to use that twice for them to get that, and that's going to help Swindle a lot. And this 2-man roaming squad by Hanskin and Z-Freak are evening out the lanes quite a bit, but still, as long as things stay static for LGD, they're going to be incredibly satisfied with how the CS game is going for them. Is maybe has been mostly unchallenged in this bottom lane, and with both supports sitting behind him, preventing all kind of help.
They do have Swindle about to complete an Arcane Boots, and he's got his level 6, so they could actually get another successful gank on ROTK if they wanted to.
I'd almost like them to rotate bottom with the Arcane Boots level 6 on Swindles, just TP him down and go for the tower push directly thereafter.
Yeah, try and get some sort of snowball initiation.
Yeah. Like, I don't want him to stay static at this, because I think eventually he'll want to swap lanes with Chessie, but Swindle's getting really low at top, already stacked up 3 times, that's a 4th, but creeps are going to come over from Z-Freak and zone this one out.
Swindle, unfortunately, being so low, they can't actually turn and fight anyway. Hanskin's going to try and rotate up to the top lane.
Yeah, they don't have a ward for this.
They're going to gush him.
RTK doesn't have Firefly anymore.
Yeah, Hanskin, he will be able to get some sort of slowdown here. If he gets the Ice Shards over the top, they might be able to kill ROTK, but never mind. Swindle's hitting. They have the Ravage, but now the Lasso goes out. Swindle is going to be able to get this off. It goes down, but it doesn't matter. The 4 heroes of LGD get stunned, but Complexity have no way out. MMY finds the extra kill, slowing down Hanskin. 3-2 now. LGD punished the aggressive move by Complexity up to that top lane.
Huge error by Complexity in communication. They simply just didn't have the damage to burst down ROTK really quickly, and you have to give up on that. As soon as you start going to the tower, the Tidehunter wanted to commit the Ravage, but ROTK with great individual skill drags them for as long as possible, allowing the TPs to come in one after another. The downside of this is that Chessie is going to pick up some farm, but
he's going to run into maybe here. That burst damage isn't nearly enough. Limp has only got level 3 in Toss and level 2 in Avalanche, so it's not even close. That being said, he is buying a ton of time for Chessie here. He's pushing out the bottom tier 1 tower at level 6. He picked up his Druid form, immediately went in so he could be able to get that quick battle cry and actually put a lot of pressure there. Unfortunately, not enough to actually take the tower, so there's still a pretty big gold lead for LGD, but maybe this wraparound from Complexity can help offset that. If they get a successful gank here, they can take this tower, and they're coming with the numbers advantage too.
Yeah, and this is what we wanted to see, right? But in an ideal world, you have your Tidehunter here.
Gas already being used. The snowball comes in. Maybe he is going to be stunned up immediately. Nice 2-man stun. MMY gets a good kick, but it doesn't matter. Maybe as well as the porter down, MMY is just trying to escape. Limp, he's got to toss up in 2 more seconds, is going to decide not to go for it, and they just turn around for that tier 1 tower.
And LGD, this was a mistake by them, because you have to know at some point you're not going to be able to defend this tower, especially with the Chen in the game. They thought with 3 there alone it would be enough to dissuade them, but with PL in the game and Bat Rider not having a TP, it's almost impossible for them to rotate down there. Like, that idea might have worked if both the cores could have came over instantly.
Yeah.
Especially since there's no Ravage on the Tidehunter. But without that available, LGD have to communicate that to the rest of the team. Like, ROTK and Sylar have to say, there's no way we're going to help out. At best, that's a 3-on-4 engagement for you.
Right.
We've said it time and time again, in the last cast as well, if you've been listening. The safe lane eventually is no longer safe. You have to rotate out of there, maybe even just leave a support down there or rotate down to the jungle.
And particularly when you're picking up some of these slower cores, such as the Phantom Lancer in particular. Oh, mid lane, they're going to be able to jump on a Z-Freak. Quick kill there, roll on through.
But Chessie's going to get out of there scot-free. And they're going to be okay with that as Limp's going to pick up a little bit more farm, and most importantly, the Tidehunter is finally starting to catch up. Last time we saw Swindle, it was slowed down quite a bit of farm, but in this game it feels like he's having a much better go of it, and surprisingly ahead of the Bat Rider net worth. And this was a Bat who had a lot of advantages afforded to him in the early game.
Yeah, he's got only 36 CS now. Swindles is actually ahead of him, and may actually be able to get the Blink Dagger ahead of him too, depending if we have perhaps another rotation from Hanskin. He's level 4 right now. And RTK is actually going to focus on clearing through some neutrals instead.
Surprised he didn't decide to stack that, but I guess he wants the XP in the lane as well.
Yeah.
Kind of playing the double up game.
They do have a stack, a very small one, just a double stack. DDC was spending some time over there, available deeper into the Radiant jungle. MMY and DDC maybe thinking about trying to punish the Tidehunter, but it's kind of a bit late for that. The Ravage is already back up, so I don't see him as being a very viable hero to gank.
Yeah, and Swindle looks like he's going to go for the mech. The last time we saw a Tidehunter actually went for drums, which I heavily disagreed with. I feel like the strength of this hero is the ability to counter-initiate with both the mech and the Ravage.
Wasn't there a mech on someone else in that game though? No?
There's no mech.
Okay.
That was the Team Spirit game,
Yeah.
I remember. But Limp is starting to catch up a little bit, picks up his treads. Really like to see the Blink Dagger on him. Although we didn't see it loaded in the last game. Limp is going to be one of their primary initiators. And you want to create space for Chessie as well.
10-minute rune. Sylar's going to be pushed away from that one. Or he's actually going to go for it. This is very dangerous. Leads with the avalanche. Hanskin will be able to catch up here. He's going to hold on to the snowball to try and chase down Sylar, but Sylar actually gets over the cliff and will be okay. Snowball used defensively, but MMY managed to get a good kick. They have a little bit more damage. Sylar's going to be able to finish him off with a lance. Gets it in the end. Good pressure from LGD.
Yeah, and Sylar made the right rotation there, is he waited things out, saw that his team wasn't coming over in time, but then they baited things out, were able to kill the Tusk for free. That's going to be a blink on the Bat Rider. Really like to see ROTK pick up a smoke, maybe even set up a kill for Limp mid and take down this mid tower.
Chessie's about to complete his Hand of Midas despite being pushed away by the Razor quite early on. Complexity have managed to draw a lot of attention of LGD to this mid and top lane, which is giving Chessie a good amount of space to be able to come back into this game.
Yeah, and this is why you want to take control of this bottom half. You want Radiant to kind of just center around this side of the map, and you want these 3 camps plus the Ancients, plus your own large camp to farm around. It helps so much if you're the Dire offlaner.
Yeah, if you're a Dire side offlaner that actually can clear through camps relatively easy, his Lone Druid's probably the best. And that's going to be a great opportunity for him to speed up that farm. And you still have Swindlemelons going at it at the top lane. He picked up that Iron Talon, is about to finish the mech. Once they have that, Complexity is actually going to be looking really damn good for a 4-man lineup and just lit the Lone Druid split push.
Yeah, and they immediately go for, like I said, the mid gank, but it's going to be Hanskin that's here instead.
Pick up. That's the first reveal of the Blink Dagger, though. Complexity, I'm sure, is still going to be happy with that. What they may not be happy with, though, is LGD going to be able to turn this into a tier 1 tower push as well. Looks like Swindle's going to try and put a stop to it. They've already blown the glyph. Just on the side, DDC's going to be able to caught by Z-Freak, and he's got the perfect reach to be able to pull up a support like this. The cast goes out, but a gush will finish him off. The tier 1 tower is going to be saved, at least for now. They can choose to deny it if they want.
Yeah, and you start to realize how important this tier 1 tower is to both teams, as everybody from Complexity willing to rotate for 100 HP tower. You don't want to get that one down for free. It's a really good positional advantage, but Complexity might just pick up one of their own as LGD. They also don't want to give this up, but fortunately for them, they don't have the Flaming Lasso, and Swindles does have that Ravage to back them up.
This team's all... Oh, it's a dangerous fight, but they're going to try and lead on Swindles, just getting some Firefly damage. ROTK Obviously doesn't have that lasso. The tier 1 tower still gonna go down. They throw out the cake and try and perhaps get the deny. No, they're just gonna go for the Spear Bear. Nice deny from TDC. Toss it, Swindle, flying Ravage. No, the silence immediately goes off and Swindle will be pushed back.
So well done by MMY, preventing that team fight from starting, but in some ways I kind of think that Complexity, you're happy about that? I don't know where their damage could have came from.
Yeah, I almost think that Swindles maybe was about to make the call not to Ravage that.
Yeah.
Because he actually started turning before even trying to go for the animation of Ravage. I think that was perhaps just a bit too deep. Still though, MMY, beautiful, quick play there to try and counterplay the Ravage if it came out.
Still, good map control by Complexity is they're the first ones to take the mid tower down, but LGD, they're immediately going to strike back, get control of their jungle again. They want to prevent this bear from just being able to farm around that area, and it looks like they're going to go for the wraparounds. Definitely not going to be a Roshan, like this is a clear kill attempt. But everybody from Complexity, they're ready for this, and they've got the mech, the Ravage, and the Chen Heal available. I don't know if this is a fight
The Ancients cleared through the 5-man smoke from Complexity, or 4-man smoke rather, behind the lone druid. This is pretty smart. They're actually assuming that LGD are going to go for that gank and try and counterplay it, but... Or I'm sorry, on Limp, who's pushing out that lane.
Yeah, maybe he's going to show himself mid. Complexity might decide to just make their way over there to cut off any sort of entrance into this bottom lane.
Witch Doctor.
Yeah, they're going to run into DDC here.
They've got the ward to be able to spot some of this, but the smoke has still come through. Hanskin, he's been seen, and Witch Doctor is actually going to be able to get away. DDC. Quick enough reactions. Still though, this is Complexity set up as a 5-man at the bottom lane. Phantom Lancer's pushing on top. I'm not sure this is a fight that LGD want to be able to take.
Yeah, they do have the Firefly from ROTK, but he's got to be careful.
Lead in, a little bit of Firefly damage out already. Avalanche souls are down. He managed to get the first hit root.
All right.
But Complexity are not in a position to be able to follow that up. They're just a bit too low, so they actually have to back away. That's perfect. LGD stopped the tier 2 tower push and will be able to get some damage on tier 1 at top. This means Complexity have to rotate.
They also took down the tier 1 mid, which was what they desperately wanted. And this time, Razor just walks in, hits it twice, gets away with it. But Limp does have the Blink Dagger available to him now, and they really needed that to be able to initiate. And all of these fights, Cap, they've really struggled to close the distance. They don't want to just rely on tossing Swindle into 5 heroes. They want to be able to blow somebody up and punish for trying to defend. Like, that's what the point of the Tiny is in this lineup.
Right. And punishing Sylar in particular with the way that he's split pushing with these boots of travels, you can't afford to just give him all this space.
The problem with trying to kill Sylar though is it would take 2 heroes. I don't think you could just do it with the Tiny alone.
Oh, for sure.
Batrider just continues to try to farm up. RTK is doing the right thing here, not trying to overextend or force anything. This might be like the most stable game that I've seen him play so far, the Shanghai Majors. Sometimes I almost feel like he focuses a little bit too much on trying to get kills and he just falls behind in farm to everybody, and even though he is behind the Tiny, he's in a much better position than we see him in most games.
Sylar is going to be running into some Chen creeps here that are rotating around. They just want to ensure that they can get this tier 1 tower. And if LGD continue to go for this bottom lane push, Complexity can probably just keep going. Try and go for tier 2. They have Jesse here. They have the superior pushing power, that's for sure.
It's really this Batrider that has to TV back with the Earth Spirit if they want to defend this tower.
So MMY and RTK both about to be ready to go to defend this push, but it's already down to half HP.
He's scouting out for the rest of his team.
Maybe finally takes that tier 1 at bottom lane and is ready to go for the TP at any point in time. His team chooses to engage, but again, it's a dangerous proposition as Limp shows his Blink Dagger, jumps onto RTK. Nice silence from MMY. Actually brings a lot of time. RTK is eventually going to go down here. Oh, there it goes. The bear finally finishes him off. Z-Freak's right in the middle of everything. Does manage to heal up. Swindles is staying forward, though, making sure that if LGD want to be able to fight this one out, they have to go through him first. They've already lost their Chen. Jump in from MMY. What an initiation. He managed to get his silence on the multiple. The Ravage goes out still, and MMY is down. The Snowball will be able to save Hanskin for the time being, but oh my god. What a plasma field from the Razor, almost able to finish these heroes off. They're going to pursue and see if they can get some more. Sylar's looking for a doppelganger forward. Lance is going to be able to hit on Chen. You turn around for Limp, though, almost popping maybe. They get the root as well. He finishes him off the plasma field. They're still alive, though. Nice. Sylar's trying to finish him off the Lance. He gets the kill at the very minimum. 3-for-3 exchange. A tier 2 does go down. But LGD managed to keep Sylar alive and in some big time kills.
Yeah, and he needed that XP bonus because he's going to be the one position, maybe struggling a little bit, and he's going to go for the BKB almost off the bat, and Complexity, they need the initiation item on the Tidehunter. That was so awkward for Swindle. He was walking forward trying to create space, but LGD just kept resetting the fight over and over again.
I love the way that Sylar was also playing around that cliff face, being able to attack them on the right-hand side. Got the kill on Z-Freak, for example, and was able to bounce out. It just meant that Swindle never had a good opportunity to catch both maybe as well as Sylar.
Yeah, game's still really close. The advantage is almost negligible. I feel like if you're Complexity, though, the next target is eventually going to be the Roshan. You've got the dire side, you can do it quite quickly. There's no rush, though, Cap.
Yeah.
Oftentimes you'll go for it immediately if there's no other objective to go for, or if you think that the Radiant can eventually do it. But if you look at LGD's lineup, there's almost no heroes that can take it.
So big upgrades on both sides here as Sylar completes his Diffusal Blade. That will obviously increase his damage in team fights twofold. But that being said, we do have a Radiance coming in for Chessie in the next few minutes.
Yeah, and you've got the Blink Dagger on Swindles now. So he can start to look for the counter initiations that his team needs instead of just walking slowly forward. But that's a pretty good amount of farm for the Tidehunter. And, you know, I was sitting with Bulba yesterday and he says, Tide is not a hero that you can just sack and use for Ravage. You want to continue to farm with this hero and try to get more and more out of it.
As later on, those kind of late game pickups such as Shiva's, maybe a refresher, pretty much a necessity for Complexity, as their late game is not that assured, as Phantom Lancer is going to be a tough hero to deal with no matter how late in the game it goes.
Yeah, exactly. They do have Tide plus Lone Druid and Tiny though. That's a pretty strong way to deal with it, especially the Tiny in the early game can clear most of it.
Grab on a Z-Freak here. They do have Sylar coming in, but the Snowball's going to be able to slow down RTK. He gets popped by the Walrus Punch, but Z-Freak will still die, and Sylar's surrounding these heroes. He does go for Hoskin up next. The Diffusal Blade is just too much for Complexity to be able to handle. Double kill for Sylar.
He's gonna get gone on by the bear, but there's no follow-up.
Oh,
he's making his way over.
He's got a doppelganger. Swindles might be able to hit this Ravage setup. Sylar's baiting out. Oh my god, they throw everything almost to be able to pop an illusion, and Sylar TP's away. See you later, Complexity.
Completely calm as three heroes start to run towards him. Even picks off two of the supports by himself. Look at the space that he just created with everybody rotating up to try to kill Sylar. As the bottom tier 2 under pressure during this, and Swindles is going to make his way down. Maybe they get at least one kill, but MMY with the kick.
Once again, MMY shining on this Earth Spirit.
They're just getting run around the map right now.
We say they're kind of running around the map. When does LGD really get to a point? Because it feels like Complexity do have the better, like, late game. When does LGD's lineup really take control of this game?
I mean, they have the PL, and it depends on how well the Tiny is farming. And the Tiny doesn't have an absurd amount of farm because he's gone for this Blink, and his PL is getting really huge after all those engagements.
Right.
So I think LGD right now are okay with the pace of the game. They've got a Bat Rider, so Roshan isn't exactly easy for Complexity to do. And the Tiny is got his Aghanims at some point, but still, they're not winning the engagements behind the Ravage like they wanted to. And they haven't been able to use the double heal because LGD are just splitting them around the map repeatedly. And that's what you want to do against a Tidehunter. You want to abuse the fact that this guy doesn't want to just expend his cooldown, because that'll signal LGD to start taking fights if they don't get completely wiped.
Now, while LGD may be abusing Complexity when it comes to the movement around the map, Complexity are still getting a good amount of farm. Z-Freak is actually almost getting an Aghanim Scepter already, and it's only 21 minutes into this game. Considering how active he's been and how targeted he's been by Sylar multiple times, this is a pretty respectable amount of farm for a Chen.
It is, but you also have to look at the fact that he hasn't gone for the mech first, and that's usually what slows him down so much.
Yeah.
The fact that he's gone for the Ags and he's getting it around this timing, I think for a jungler is kind of okay, especially for a Chen who's a little bit more active than, say, an Enigma.
Complexity may be looking to push if they can somehow get Roshan, get the Aegis, and have those mega creeps in their hands from the Chen, and actually be such insane 5-man power that LGD may actually lose Elena Rax or something from that. Swindle's gonna jump forward. They're gonna try and pop Sylar here. He managed to jump himself away. Oh, no mind games can be used for that one, Sylar. Swindles blows the Ravage to obtain that mega kill streak.
And this is now, what do you get if you're LGD? The bottom lane is pushed in, the mid lane is getting pushed in by Chessie. So that Ravage expenditure, I'm okay with. Like, you can't let Styler get away for a second time, and it just isn't. It's not just a kill cap; it's like a psychological thing too. Like, you let this guy get away for a second time, and you have Ravage, and you didn't use it. You're gonna be kicking yourself for that. It's a pretty good kill in terms of the gold, the morale, and you're always gonna feel good taking out a 1 position.
And Jesse's about to be evened up with Sylar because of that death. Net worth at least. Limp with that Aghanim Scepter is pushing out that bottom lane a bit. Complexity are just keeping themselves relatively well spread and farming up, but it looks like they're going to go for a 4-man smoke now.
Yeah, they don't have the Ravage, and so the timing of this is a little bit weird for them to go for, like to fight into a 5-on-5. I don't think coL decided to go for this. If anything, I feel LGD gets aggressive because of the fact that they know the Ravage is on cooldown. So I'd like to see them smoke, try to get some pressure set up and take down this bottom tier 2 tower, which is exactly what they're going for. And Complexity, they want nothing to do with this.
Even with Sylar pushing out that top lane, of course he's got bots, but...
No, I think you just give up this tower if you're Complexity. They're reading the situation correctly.
Tier 2 towers are notoriously hard to defend as well.
Yeah. Here, coL, you just wait for the Ravage to come back up from Swindles and continue to farm out. I like that Swindles is always farming. Like, he just rotates around and around, and he's kept up with the Razor, which I think is pretty impressive.
So you go Shiva's next just because it's a PL. Try and get that as early as possible.
For almost all situations, you would go for the Shiva's next anyways. Give the Watermelon some armor. Jesse has the Vlads now too, and you've got the Axe completed on Z-Freak. Complexity. Just wait for the Ravage to come off cooldown. Again, LGD, they can't really threaten this. Like, Complexity is like, alright, go for Roshan. See how long it takes you.
The bear will constantly scout it out if need be. They've also got some tiny illusions, so instead LGD going to turn their attention to this tier 2 at bottom lane. And it looks like Complexity are going to try and fight this one out. The Ravage just now coming off cooldown.
Yeah, this is the perfect timing for them, but bottom tier 2 is getting really low. They're getting chased down as LGD full retreat.
They use a Purge on the bear to make sure that Sylar can get away. Another doppelganger use. Swindles has his Blink Dagger ready to go. He can actually catch LGD here. Limp's going to be leading his charge. BKB goes off on Maybe. He turns his attention to fight out Limp with MMY hitting a huge kick. Swindles just unable to get off a good Ravage here. He's wandering around looking for it desperately. Still though, the Bat Rider has gone down from the Lone Druid, and the BKB is now down out from Maybe. MMY jumps in. Ravage gone. Used on Sylar. MMY comes in. Trying to pop his full combination. They're all low, but nobody on LGD is high enough to be able to get a single kill. LGD get wiped there, and Complexity keep almost everyone alive. Z-Freak tapping out towards the bear end.
And the bear, or the Bat Rider, even goes to the buyback here, thinking that his team can hold on for just enough time. LGD does a perfect split there. They lead with the BKB on Maybe, and Swindles is just like, okay, what am I supposed to do here? But he sees the opportunity to kind of single out Sylar, and you're okay with that fight every single time because he's the primary damage dealer on LGD's side. For them to lose the Bat Rider and the PL back quickly in the fight is just disastrous. And now LGD, they're not going to be able to respawn in time to go for this Roshan contest. ROTK's in no position to help out. This is going to be a free Roshan for Complexity, and because LGD don't have the lineup to do this in the first place, Complexity knew that they could leave the first Roshan of the game this late.
So the Aegis now acquired for Limp, who's going for a BKB as his next pickup.
If you look at the fight recap, and that's what the arena's seeing right now, you see everybody from LGD completely split up, trying to avoid the Ravage, and it just never came. Swindle's like, okay, well, you guys are going to take individual fights, and we're okay with that.
Yeah, they just surrounded Sylar and so able to easily pick him off.
That's such an odd engagement. Like, LGD, they don't have a mech or anything.
Oh, Complexity. This is indeed a close matchup, and I don't blame them for sweating this one out.
Yeah. Your knees are weak when you're in the pit, you know, arms are heavy.
Come on, Sumail's not in this game. 12 to 15, 26 minutes in. The metrics, 7,500 gold lead for Complexity right now. Little over 7,500 experience. Complexity have definitely gained themselves a huge advantage. But how do they swing this Aegis to get themselves more control? They just barrel down mid, take the rest of these tier 2 towers. Can they even consider going high ground this early on to the game?
High ground is a scary proposition, Cap, against that kind of lineup, but LGD don't have any of these like huge game-breaking ultimates that you'll often see other team's draft to kind of hold that. LGD expected to be ahead in this game. This is not. You've got the Bat Rider, who's pretty ideal, and the Earth Spirit is okay, but you don't have anything like a Chrono or a Black Hole to kind of really scare Complexity.
Yeah, the Razor in particular was supposed to be at his peak at this point in time with the BKB, and he's got a Yasha and drums as well.
He's just not farming very well. He's even behind the Tidehunter now. Like, Swindles is 2,600 gold, and he's got an item coming to him. It's just going to be a TP. I imagine it's going to be the Shivas right after. And Complexity's in the driver's seat right now.
A 4-staff, actually, for a Tidehunter.
And they're going to go for the smoke. They want to make use of this this Aegis that they just picked up. 10 seconds to go on Swindles' Ravage. But I sort of think if LGD are split up on the map right now, which is what they're going to do, they should decide to just go for a fight. You don't even need your Tidehunter. They know maybe he's by himself at bottom. The DDC being there is a little bit of a surprise, but he won't change anything.
Yeah. If anything, it'll just be an additional pickoff. Or perhaps enough of a warning sign for maybe to be able to get out with the TP. Perhaps even forced to use BKB, but we'll see. Oh, Limp is able to get the jump onto him first. BKB is popped, TP out, and there really isn't anything to stop him from getting away. They will be able to catch DDC though.
Now the Bear gonna go for the AC. Z-Freak bringing in the Ancient Thunderhide. Is that like, where does that rank in the 3 big creeps?
I mean, in this specific matchup, I think it's actually one of the better ones because of Frenzy.
Okay.
Putting it on the Bear.
And the War Drums Aura is not bad either.
Yeah, I mean, it's additional 75 attack speed on a Spirit Bear. That sounds pretty good to me.
Yep. Oh, he's got the Ancient Granite Golem too, which is one of the better ones. Especially if you consider how tanky cole's lineup was and how difficult it was to kill anybody in that fight. This is going to be so hard for LGD to stop. They need to have ROTK ready. Firefly is still on cooldown. Pretty disastrous for them. They're going to pop the Glyph, try to buy some time, but Swindles is just running straight forward.
Just trying to chip him. RTK not even going for the lasso apparently, as that is just an Aegis Tiny. He's just trying to get damage out. Spirit Bear would be a nice kill, but again, can they fully commit to it? Doesn't look like it. Damage, Maledict will actually finish it off, and Complexity will actually retreat. Sylar split pushing up that top lane will make Swindamelons come back to base. That tier 3 tower actually went down to half HP, much more than Complexity managed to attain.
Yeah, unfortunately they weren't able to pressure up that high ground, and LGD made a pretty good showing, saying we're not just going to let you take this Rax. This is what Sylar is going to do if you ever try to threaten up. Sylar is not quite tanky enough though to survive the Ravage.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack. Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Like 4 heroes are right-clicking you does not last for very long.
They will be able to get the tier 2 at the bottom lane. Sylar's pushing out top. Once again, they're going to try and threaten Complexity back. But
Firefly again.
This time, yeah, Firefly is not going to be able to get Complexity off this tier 3 tower. And maybe this is just a straight trade-off from LGD.
I think you just go bottom if you're Complexity too.
And Complexity push for more here. In one fell swoop, they may be able to get 2 lanes of Rax. Limp is caught in a bad position though. He does have the Aegis as well as BKB. He can afford to die here. And he'll come back when the Magic Immunity needed to be able to fight this one out. Limp may actually be taken out from the Maledict. At least he's not inside the enemy base, so that's okay. But still, Sylar's taking the lane of Rax. Maybe they should have backed up.
I don't know if they would have had. They wouldn't have had the TP on Limp, and they don't have a TP on Swindle either.
Yeah, I guess they would have been caught kind of split if they tried to TP out. So their only other play then at this point in time is to make it so it's not a straight trade. They'll go for the second lane of Rax still.
This is so much scarier though. They don't have the Bear for a full 2 minutes, and the Tiny doesn't have the Aegis. So maybe they just wait for the initiation first on Swindle, who's walking all the way around.
And Sylar addresses them a little bit, starts burning through some of that mana. Oh, the 4-man smoke. Complexity are really going to try this one.
They're going to go around from the front.
Yeah, if they can catch Sylar. Is this even worth potentially blowing Ravage just for a kill on the Phantom Lancer?
They only have one BKB on LGD. There's a good chance that you clip somebody in the back too, but they're waiting for somebody to defend. They know because nobody's going top that the smoke is most likely happening, and everybody from LGD just backing up inside their base. They know they've traded 1 racks for 1 racks.
That was plate mail. He gave it over to Maybe that Swindle's almost sniped from the courier. So now we have some better armor on Razor. You can deal with 3 or 4 heroes beating on him like you're talking about.
Yeah. Complexity are still in an advantageous situation despite the pure 1-for-1 trade, but LGD are going to be so happy with what just happened. That's, you know, sigh of relief. They had Aegis plus like 3 massive high ground heroes, and they were able to hold for a straight trade.
You get a big HP upgrade on Sylar as he's trying to complete a hard at this point in time, but RTK is going to be able to grab Hanskin. A pullback, a free pickoff on a support, not amazing. They would have loved a core, but still it's something for LGD to hold on to. And they know it's very likely that they're going to have time to be able to sit back and farm and get those next round of items, such as potentially an AC on Razor and that heart on Phantom Lancer. Because Complexity probably need to wait out next Roshan.
Complexity can wait though. They're farming everywhere right now. Swindles, I really like the way that he's played Tide this entire game. He's kept up in net worth with the Tiny, which I think is really impressive. He's almost got a Shiva's completed, so this is not just a Ravage and done Tiny. On the flip side of things, this Bat Rider is so poor. He needs BKB really badly. Like, they need somebody to be in the middle of the fights with Sylar. Like, he can't just be alone. We're seeing what happens every time, because then the Tidehunter just expends the solo Ravage on him, and it's almost worth it for Complexity.
Complexity have no reliable stunts to go through BKB, so if ROTK can complete this one, that'll actually be a guaranteed complete displacement of 1 enemy hero.
They're gonna deward this, and Sylar picks up a massive item. It is a heart now.
Heart's gonna be pretty good, but I'm still concerned about the Ravage being able to control him and then Complexity focusing him down.
I mean, I'm concerned about a lot of things for LGD right now, but you gotta sound positive, man. Things are rough, but Sylar could just go insane in a fight.
Yeah, Complexity know that too. Even though they've got about a 8 or 9k lead in both Golden Experience, it's still a very dangerous proposition trying to end this game right now. They get a Basher now on the lone Druid. Shiva's complete for the Tidehunter. And our Roshan, it's actually going to be coming up here in another 30 seconds.
And this is probably what it's going to take to go for the high ground safely. Like, they don't want to just have Limp force the BKB, especially since the glyph is up on the side of LGD. But LGD, they know the Roshan's out. They're going to go for this smoke. I would have really liked to see them wait like 10 seconds.
Are they going to go straight high ground here? Oh, they're going to be able to grab Sylar immediately. They burst him down a little bit, get him down to about 2/3 HP. The Ravage goes out as well, controlling up these heroes and making sure RTK doesn't get the full pullback. Limp has popped his BKB, and LGD are just trying to kite Swindle Melons and the rest of his boys around. They get the toss forward. MNY gets off a really good ultimate that can keep on going and Beyondly survives. Finally, he does go down. Limp's going to be taken out though, and maybe a lot of damage, but he's only down. He's fighting up against Shenzi. The snowball actually keeps some of the heroes alive, and Sylar almost goes down as well. Doppelganger trying to juke it out. They're trying to figure out which one it is. Oh, but finally they get him. Ice Shards completes the kill. A 1-for-3 exchange, and Complexity can now try and force some buybacks. The thing is, LGD don't have any.
They've only got it on the Earth Spirits. The other 2 cores don't have it available. Complexity don't know that either, but they should at least poke to see. If neither of the cores buy back, then they know for sure. Like, there's no way that LGD just give up a second lane of racks like this if they had it available. Complexity is going to confirm.
And this will be a second lane of racks, it seems, as LGD's supports do not have the damage to be able to push back Complexity. RTK starts jumping forward. He's like beating himself like there will be buybacks, but there simply won't be. A Walrus Punch, force snap forward. RTK gets some distance and will be able to just barely survive. The melee racks and the range racks will both still go down. RTK's feint does not successfully dissuade Complexity from pushing in the lane.
I almost thought for half a second that LGD was going to win that fight. Like, they were killing Limp. The Ravage was pretty good, but it was spread out. So nobody from coL exactly knew who to hit. Sylar did quite a lot in that fight, but They just don't have enough damage dealers.
Here, I thought you were making a joke about that bottom lane RTK initiation.
No, I mean, he had to do what he had to do.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, maybe if I BKB and they think our cores will buy back, and I'll lasso in and we'll get a fight going. It's just like a hopeful thing, because you know, 2 racks down, and you just lost a massive team fight right in front of your base.
Yeah.
And Complexity verified that neither of your cores have buyback. I think that's pretty big information in itself. Because now coL, don't they just go for Roshan right now because they do have buyback on both of their main cores?
Yeah. This Complexity lineup is just so damn tanky. And then they even have the saving mechanisms between the Chen and the Tusk Snowball with the Blink Dagger.
That Granite Golem giving them all Vid boosters too.
Yep.
The spirit of Febby lives on.
Lives on. He's still kicking in the tournament.
That's true. Can't believe they're top 6 or something, right?
Top 6 guaranteed.
Yeah, that's insane. But
all right, a bit more damage now for the Lone Druid. This will also help deal with the Phantom Lancer, Maelstrom into Mjolnir once again.
So they're all smoked up. They want to go for this Roshan. LGD still don't have buyback available on either of these main 2 cores, but they know they can't just give up the Roshan. That'll probably mean Mega Creeps, but Complexity are just running towards top. Like, they might just actually go down mid and take this mid racks, or that's top racks, because they know there's no, glyph. I think that's actually what's gonna happen. Like, LGD, they're not even gonna be ready for this.
They gotta start TPing back. Like,
Oh, this is
right
getting
now
crazy.
if they want to be able to defend this.
They gotta run. And
Alright, here comes the TPs.
yeah, now Complexity should just go for the Roshan, I think.
Yeah, now that they forced
Yeah, they can
LGD
just
back out of position. They're actually going to go for the push here. The jump forward, RTK actually establishes D-Freak as his first target. They're going to be able to blow him up almost instantly, but the snowball comes in. D-Freak unable to get off the heel. Ravage goes down, BKB is up, and Siler is still going for the back. They're actually just going to try and go straight, make it crazy. They've got it too. LGD have to win this fight and somehow make a counterplay. They've already taken out 2. They're going to be able to get Swindlemon's TP out. Never mind, they have no stuns to be able to stop him. Oh no, Complexity get a really clean escape from all of that. 3 cores alive, the supports are the only ones who go down. I don't know how LGD can possibly turn this one around. They can't go straight 5-man down mid or something crazy.
coL read that so well, Cap. But I have vision of everything, and I was like, that's the play. And Complexity's like, yep, they're all going for Roshan right now. Joke's on them. We're not even going to contest it. We'll go straight for your base. We know you don't have glyph available. I mean, Complexity might have just secured themselves a top 8 berth. As LGD, they're going to go for the desperation push. They know it's all in now or never. They don't have the buyback on Razor. Sylar's going to go for the front line. He does have the boots of travel and buyback, so he wants to die if anybody's going to die on his team. They've got one good shot at this. The lanes are actually pushed in pretty well, so Complexity, LGD still have a win condition.
Complexity do have full buybacks though. So it's definitely going to be the toughest fight of LGD's race through here at the Shanghai Major. Sylar starts jumping forward, immediately going to be targeting Swindlemones.
He's so tanky though.
Yeah, he easily survives. They start focusing now on the tier 3 towers, slowly but surely. They just do not have the same kind of great pushers. Jump forward, they're actually going to be able to get Chessie. Saboteur goes out. Limp going to try and counter-initiate, but the BKB's already gone down from LGD. The problem is Complexity are so damn tanky. Chessie, he's finally going to go down. Maybe he's able to kill 1, but LGD, they're just getting cleaned through by Limp, and he takes down 2. Both of those heroes going to buy back now. It's a good kick from the MMY. It's going to be able to stall things out. They're going to try and boots of travel in mid lane by Sylar, while maybe defends the bottom and top lane pushes of Mega Creeps, but it all but assured that LGD's push has been stymied. And now they're just going to have to play for a late game scenario against Mega Creeps.
They do sort of have the heroes for it because the Phantom Lancer and the Razor are incredibly tanky, but maybe he doesn't even clear these very quickly, and he doesn't have lifesteal on anybody, which is why you're going to see the Witch Doctor pick up the Vlads instead of staying for the buyback, because he knows his buyback is kind of irrelevant here. Complexity, they did have to use the buyback on Chessie, which is a little bit worrisome, but they've got this guy over here, Roshan,
Yeah,
which is going to ignore that need.
Pick up a second life for Chessie. And it's guaranteed too. They've got so much vision of LGD fighting back Mega Creeps right now. They know there's no way that LGD can contest.
And with this, they're all going to have buybacks available on the heroes that need it. Chessie's going to pick this one up. The Chen's got buyback. I actually think they all do minus Chessie, but he's got Aegis, so that's kind of irrelevant.
Moonshard picked up Jesus. Between the Moonshard, 120 attack speed, and then he's also got this Frenzy being given to him constantly. That's 75 attack speed. That's more than a Hyperstone. It's a Hyperstone and a half.
Z-Freak has a Glimmer Cape too. Does LGD have a gem? Yes, they do on ROTK. But they need to protect their 2 cores right now. LGD, maybe if they can hold this, they've got a small shot.
But we may even see a scenario where Complexity just goes straight for Throne. The tier 4 tower, one of them's already dead. It's got 37 HP only.
Yeah. LGD, and they're fighting till the bitter end. They know no more chances after this. And Complexity, they're playing this so safe. This features 2 of the members that were on that NIP squad that were up Mega Creeps against Alliance, but
yeah, they've hopefully they've learned their lesson. Alliance prevented Nip from being able to go to the Frankfurt Major. These same Swedes now make it to the Shanghai Major in the form of Complexity, cannot afford to lose to another Mega Creeps advantage.
They know their position in this game is so much better than it was against the one back in the Frankfurt Major, and they've learned a lot since then. As the tier 4 tower is going to go down, the LGD are constantly being pressed back into their fountain.
And here comes Complexity surging forward now. They have the Spirit Bear that's going to be leading the way. Don't jump in from Lim. They're actually going to be able to identify DDC and pick him off immediately. He does not have buyback. They're playing around the fountain. No, what an Ice Shard. That's actually to prevent the retreat from MMY. He gets the kick, rolls back into the fountain. Will be able to survive while Sylar goes for Z-Freak in the back, but he doesn't have the vision. RTK toss him in the air, bounce back up by the Ravage. They've also controlled up Sylar as well, who they're trying to target down, but they get back to the fountain once again. Onskin dropping low for maybe, but some of these heroes will not survive. RTK has to buy out now. The tier 4 tower going to be the target. Complete. Might actually take down low though. RTK almost going to be beaten down again. It's going to be low Sylar as well. No buybacks there. Complexity, they've taken 2 tier 4s. They've done it. They've taken out LGD and will move forward to top 8 guaranteed here at the Shanghai Major.
And in the booth, they just immediately rush each other, leaving their keyboards behind.
Going absolutely wild in the booth, hugging each other like mad. Complexity are so excited, going from bottom in their group stage of Group D to now winding up top 8 guaranteed and into the best of 3 part of the lower bracket.
I mean, Swindle's a vocal guy, but you gotta hand it to him. He backs it up.
He does.